Okay, great. Well, I'll just briefly introduce the ARC team here. So we have Mr. Nick Ashley, who is our CMO, Chief Marketing Officer. Mr. George Fox, the one and only, the real George Fox, who is our Chief Operations Officer, and myself, the NFT Accounts Manager. And we today are welcoming the RFOX CEO, Ben, and Community Manager, Lala. Really nice to have you guys on. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
Great. So I reckon before I start with some questions, do you guys just want to maybe kick things off with a bit of a description about who you are and what your mission is, and then after that we can jump into some questions which I've got prepared.
Yeah, sure. Do you want to go first, Lola?
No, by all means, I go all ahead, Ben.
Okay, so yes, I'm Ben Fairbank, CEO and co-founder of RFOX. RFOX started 4 years ago and is a metaverse builder. So what we did was we started off building companies in the 4 fastest growing sectors of the internet economy, and then we're looking for to become a super DApp, and we're working out how to plug that all in. So the one platform that we decided to plug that into was a metaverse environment in VR, specifically focusing on e-commerce, retail, and entertainment. So our mission is really to focus on digital inclusion, but also on making sure that we've got a metaverse that everyone can participate in and help build. So we're very much going down the road of being much more like a Roblox than we are like a Meta. So what that involves is us having to set up the basic platform and all of the tools and different sectors like games and finance, NFTs and marketplaces. And then what we do is we then turn on the tools and let the builders come in and contribute and start deciding where this goes and helping us build this.
Great. Well, yeah, it's great to hear that you guys have obviously been around for a while, and I had a look at your roadmap, and it's really impressive what you've already built and what you have planned. So do you want to tell us a bit about RFOX Vault and what your mission specifically is with that?
Yeah, so the Vault was supposed to tie all of the actual ventures that we're building together and actually act as a showcase for those. And the reason we decided to do that and to do it in that fashion is because we realized that if you're launching multiple different products or businesses, you're stuck in a perpetual raise cycle. You've got to go build an audience for every new product. And we figured that if we start turning these products on at the same time and plugging them into the platform being a metaverse, we'd be able to literally get a situation where you're sharing the audience amongst all of the ventures, and it makes it much more likely for those ventures to succeed. And again, you don't have to go through building that audience. Now, where that comes into advantage for people that want to build with us, and this is really where we're headed with that, is if we can get creators and builders to come in, and if we do go, touch wood, into some sort of a global recession, a lot of people have got more time on their hands and they say, I'm looking for something new, I want to do something new. If we can provide the tools for people to come along and build and contribute and add and create value for themselves as well, then when they plug into what we're building into our network, they will also have an established network and audience to market into, which makes it a lot easier for them to launch. So we effectively have the vision or mission of becoming a brand builder and a launcher for brands in the Web 3.0 and metaverse space.
So what sets you guys apart? I mean, what makes the RFOX Vault different from other metaverses specifically?
One that actually meets the definition of the metaverse, if you go back to Snowpiercer's original definition, which was a VR-based interoperable metaverse environment. And I mean, ultimately, we've got a multi-chain focus, which a lot of people don't. We've started with VR. We'll also have web-based as well. But ultimately, I think the thing is that we've had 4 years to build the tools. So we've got an NFT marketplace, much akin to an OpenSea or LooksRare that's about to launch. We've got an NFT end-to-end platform that's very similar to a Shopify that allows you to create NFTs and then to have your own marketplace. We've got the finance arm, so we can do staking and farming. We've got games, a second and third game in development now with an SDK. We've got the whole gamut of TV TV is launching in the next couple of weeks. We've also got media. We bought a media platform in Myanmar with 13 million followers. And so what we've done is we've tried to cover and corner all of the different areas that we thought would be big. And then the last piece is e-commerce streaming. And I guess the big holy grail, the next big thing will be how to get e-commerce streaming into a metaverse. And we've worked out how to do that. So we're working on something that we know that no one else is working on at the moment, that we'll sort of talk about when we get closer to the product launch. But we've got ways to combine all the tools that we've currently built to really sort of separate ourselves in that, especially in the e-commerce space as well, in the Vault.
Awesome. Wow, it's really cool what you guys are building. So I'm interested, how do you see, companies like Arc and, I assume you sort of know a bit about what we do, sort of fitting into your metaverse and into the Vault?
Yeah, so I think ultimately the idea for us is to basically say, we have the platform, for example, and we have what we've built with the Vault, and I guess that where a company like yours can fit in is that it gives us, so there's two parts to it. There's the simple logical aggregation for saying, okay, let's click into what we've already got. But ultimately, any company like yourself that comes to us or with us and says, we've got tools and services and offerings that you don't, and we offer something different to what you offer, that the whole idea of what we're building isn't to be something that's closed off, and we sort of, like I say, like a meta, and sort of say it's ring fenced, and we're not open for collaboration, and we're not open to work with people. So ultimately, the offerings that you have compared to what we have, because they're relatively different, we don't see that as like, oh, you're in competition with us or you're in a completely different vertical than us. What we see is an opportunity to say, we can now give our people exposure to what you're doing and vice versa in a really open and interoperable way. So what we've already got a number of different people from different industry sectors that are looking to sort of work out how they can click in or how they can showcase. And as an example, we've got a couple of people that have tools for real world fashion and music that are going to click in, that really open up opportunities to expose a different audience to the Vault and vice versa. So I think as far as how Arc could contribute or how Arc could definitely fit in, is you're actually exposing our audience to things that they haven't actually, that we don't actually offer in our umbrella.
Yeah, awesome. And I know it's very much in Arc's ethos as well. TJ's spoken about this many times, that Arc is not also looking to necessarily be a competitor in the space, but to aggregate and to bring all of crypto together and provide sort of the financial opportunities to each and every person. And we are absolutely a very collaborative company too. So it's great to hear that you guys sort of have that same ethos as us. So just diving into one part of what you said, how do you think that your metaverse sort of will open up new opportunities for income stream for developers and NFT creators going forward? Because that's something very topical to us as we gear up to our NFT marketplace launch.
Yeah, sure. So I think that as far as developers and people integrating, there's two different ways that we're talking to people about now, and it is obviously very early, but we've got people that are sort of looking at building the roads and the on-ramps, and they're saying, look, if we build tools that will bring people in from this section or offer this particular service, we've been working out deals with those companies. So people are actually, it's not the same type of a model as a Roblox, but in the sense that it's pricing structures and all the rest of it. What we've got is the opportunity for people to say, look, you haven't got that in your network yet. You haven't got that on your platform yet. We can offer the payment rails or onboarding or tools that you don't have. So that's one way, and then you'd be able to profit and market that as a service to the people that are using the Vault. The second way is to say, plug straight into APIs or SDKs, use SDKs and say we can integrate that way. So what we're trying to do is make it that we are offering pathways for creators and developers to be able to earn. And again, if they're contributing and they're bringing in, so in our first sales, we did shop sales, and we've got brands coming in that will launch, and some established brands coming in that will actually have the opportunity to build an audience in the space, to sell to that audience, educate that audience, issue NFTs to that audience, all through their little space. So yeah, so two real ways: building the roadways and the pipes into the vault, and also integrating a product or service in through the use of APIs and SDKs.
Awesome. And I wondered if maybe you could tell us a bit about how the RFOX token itself is incorporated into your metaverse, and the way that it all runs, because yeah, I was also having a look at that earlier, and I think for some of our DeFi DJs in the audience, that might be something that they would be interested to hear about.
Yeah, for sure. So we've got a little bit of a different method, because a lot of projects that you've seen in the past will say the only way you can function or operate is to use our native token, and that's the only way you can, you can participate in anything that we offer. So what we've done is we've turned around and said, because we're going to have a lot of different companies clicking in and different projects clicking in, and some of those projects that say, I want to be able to accept my currency, and being multi-chain, we can 100% facilitate and allow that. So what the reason we're open to all of this is because in countries like Vietnam, where we're based, it's illegal for you to use a cryptocurrency in place of anything that can be bought with the local currency of the dong. So we are very mindful of mass adoption and trying to make sure that we're building products and services that people want and can use. So how we do it is, if someone chooses to pay not in RFOX, we basically take a 2% transaction fee on anything that comes through the vault, and we convert that 2% into RFOX. That RFOX is then distributed to quartermasters who help govern and run the vault, some of our token holders, and then also back to the company. So we're converting a percentage back into RFOX, as well as also offering RFOX as a form of payment. And then, of course, there'll be certain things that we offer through our network that are either early access or only purchasable through RFOX, whether it be an NFT avatar or something like that. But again, for all those people collaborating and clicking in, they're able to charge what they want, accept whatever currency they want, and then we just basically take a clip of the ticket and convert that into RFOX. So there's a constant buy demand for the RFOX token, and it is given as the reward.
Great, really interesting stuff. Could you just tell us a bit about what we can expect for the rest of 2022 and your upcoming roadmap?
Yeah, sure. So we've got TV and the NFT marketplace about to drop. That kind of completes the next two pieces, and then we've got more games coming out that will sort of head towards the SDK so that people can start plugging in. We've got avatars coming out very soon, and apartments for the vault, and the avatars will actually, the NFTs, so a bit of alpha for this call, the NFTs will act as a form of governance, so that they'll be a governance token. So those avatars will very much, so the avatars basically are divided by the quarters with different traits and origins, and they basically will decide by voting how those quarters develop in their build and what happens next. So that's going to be a pretty big piece as well. But then we're also starting to look at how we integrate VR games into the vault, as well as also instances. So some people want to shop, some people want to go to concerts. So we're working with some music and production companies to facilitate concerts, but not just music concerts, but actually working with visual companies to make these concerts something really kind of special to look at and very different. This all ties into our e-commerce part as well. But again, in the very near future, we've got TV just about to drop, the NFT marketplace, and then the e-commerce will sort of come once the other quarters come into play. We've currently got a sandbox type of environment that is just like a test environment. We did this to be able to work out how to do some of the really technical stuff. So, for example, I think people take it for granted, but being able to use your VR headset to make a crypto purchase and having it connected to wallets on multiple chains, I'm not sure it's been done before. There's definitely nothing you can Google. There's no one you can go to for help. So we've had to sort of work all this out as we've gone. So the first iteration that we've just put out with limited audience has been very much not about form. It's been about, it's like the line of code version, I guess you'd say, how to get people in there, how do the instances load, how do we make sure that the payments can go through, how do we make sure that the functionality works properly, and then we've got all of the codes and contracts and multi-chain architecture to plug in. So we're heading rapidly now towards upgrade after upgrade and iterations that we can get towards a AAA version of what the vault would look like. But if you've listened to Meta or any of the other metaverses that are really actually building a VR space, they've kind of put 2030 timeframes on their builds. With us, we've decided that being a first mover is very important. So again, we're going out with the MVP of everything and clicking it all together. But we think it'll be probably a year or so before it's quite polished, and then we'll always be iterating and updating. But again, once we get this into the community's hands, the people that are using it and frequenting it will help to really sort of determine what happens next. So the latter part of the year will be very much focused on the tools and giving users the tools to come in and start really building and deciding, and for the avatar owners to vote on how the direction of each of the quarters goes.
Yeah, I'm interested in kind of the apparatus that you have in place to determine that sort of governance. Could you maybe speak a bit more about that?
Yeah, we haven't really actually released that yet, but effectively you've got different levels of avatars, and I think that there's a couple of projects like I think Treasure.lol's quibbed or talked about it. I don't think they've actually done it yet, but I think there's a few projects that have sort of looked at governance through NFTs. How we do it is basically it's almost like a class structure or hierarchy of NFTs, and those NFTs would have attached voting rights. But what we're also doing is trying to look at novel ways that we can work with those avatars and those voting rights. So we'll play around with a few different methods, but the one thing that you find with governance is that if someone owns 15% or 20% of the tokens, you've got a real difficult uphill battle to try and get anything passed unless that person determines that they can, they want to do that. So there's certain things you can do with an avatar, especially if you're in a physical environment, for example, like being present, that can really sort of turn those governance structures that haven't really worked very well in the past on their head. So we've got a few little sneaky things that I'll reveal shortly that will actually involve participation and sort of deter that a little bit. And then that will sort of, there'll be other avatars coming in, because we've also built an avatar creation tool that we're about to launch as well. And so people will have the ability to bring in avatars from other metaverses and also create avatars. But these avatars, the citizens that we're launching, they're the ones that will have the voting rights. But yes, again, it'll be more akin to an actual voting structure that you would see in real life of being present and casting your votes.
Really, really interesting stuff. Well, at this point, I might open it up to George and Nick and see if they have any personal questions for you as well. George, do you have anything you'd like to ask?
Way to put me on the spot there, Jasper. No. I mean, it's been covered in great amount of detail. So no, I've got nothing to add from our perspective at all at this stage.
At which point, I might ask if anyone in the audience wants to come up and speak. So if anyone would like to request, I'm sure Nick can get you guys up here. Sorry, just got to double check that Nick is still with us.
It's okay, mate. I can let people up. I'm co-hosting, so if anyone's got any questions, guys, just raise your hand, request to speak, and you can ask Ben and Layla some questions.
Everybody's probably in shell shock with the current markets, I would assume.
But imagine there's people just staring at their portfolios and watching tokens disappear into the ether. So
yeah, it's a little bit scary.
a little bit concerning at this stage. But Ben, is there anything else that you would like to cover at this stage about the sort of, about RFOX or about your metaverse or anything else that hasn't been covered?
Sure. I think just in summary, it's going to be for us. We're kind of lucky that we've sort of been around for a while, and it's taken a long time to build these components that because we chose to go down the multi-chain path. But I guess if you rewound a year or 2 years and we went through something like we're going through now, if it was prolonged, I think there's going to be a lot of projects that sort of look at the path ahead and the road ahead and sort of turn around and say we're too far away from the end for us to make it to that end goal. So I think the one thing that we've got going our way is that we're at the point now where we're about to drop all of the main products in our space, and now it's just a matter of then sort of getting the users in and marketing. But it's going to be a tough road for a lot of projects out there. So I'm just really thankful we took the decision to sort of focus on getting out the dirty MVP, so to speak, and making sure that we got function tested and didn't wait around for things to be extremely polished. Because if that were the case, I think we'd be in a very different situation, like many other projects. But I think this space is going to be very exciting, and I think that because Web 3.0 is really being defined right now, I think markets like this will sort of cause people to pivot, and a lot of people that are early in the build cycles will have to pivot to survive, and therefore these types of junctures and changes really sort of dictate, new products and services and directions that Web 3.0 takes. So I think it's kind of, as much as it's a little bit scary and daunting, I think some really good stuff's going to come out of this, and the projects that are genuinely here to build will really stand up to be counted. So I think it's extremely exciting time for us and for the space.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, on that note, what would you say to a community listening that maybe haven't been through sort of those downward turns and those sort of more difficult times, who are very nervous at this point in time?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the first couple of times you go through it, you sort of you continually say, I'm not going to let it affect me, and I'm not going to look at my portfolio, and I'm not going to look at the balance or what's been wiped out. And then that part, it really weighs heavy on people's shoulders and on their minds. And I think that after a bit of time, you start then turning around and saying, well, hang on, if everything can drop this much, then I'm going to spend a bit of time educating myself on what I should be invested in, and not just blindly go in stuff. Because when you're in a bull market, any turkey can fly in a hurricane, and you sort of think to yourself, well, I've got to really reassess what I believe in and what I have strong conviction in, and who's still building, and just reassess your options of what you're in and what you're invested in long term. But I'd say that most of the people that have done really well in the previous cycles have been students of the bear market. They've taken that time to really research, study, look at emerging trends, look at what's actually happening in the space. And you go back to, a lot of people came in 2017 or so, and if you look at all the people that came in at that stage, so many projects raised huge money. We went through the big bear market starting in the beginning of 2018, and a lot of those projects, the darlings of 2017, are gone, or no one's talking about them anymore. So the thing is, you've got to look at projects that are building for long term and have a broad reach and offering. If someone's doing something very narrow, like a swapping technique or something like that, and that's all they do, it takes a sushi swap or something to come along and it just sort of defunks it. But I would say for the people that are holding, that are worried, that are fearful, the technology is not going anywhere. There's too much money been pumped into this. There's too much money been invested into this. This will succeed. It's a matter of how long before it succeeds. So that the most important thing is to be patient. As I say, markets are set up to transfer money from the impatient to the patient. But you've just got to make sure that you're continually assessing whether you're on the right things, and not let it get to you. Because, as they say, if you can't handle 80% down, then you shouldn't be there for the 80% up. So it does swing. Don't ever invest more than you can afford to lose, and just make sure that you're rational about it. It's not worth getting emotive and being negative to those people around you and letting it impact you. You've got to sort of understand that these things move in ebbs and flows, and there will be another up market. There always is.
I mean, very wise words. I mean, the space is so impatient, as it is anyway, from sort of weeks to months. Everyone expects sort of 1,000 mile an hour all the time, and that seems to be the tempo. And just to think back there to sort of what you were saying about the 2017-18 sort of neck of the woods, you think in crypto, that is for us just, if you've been in the space since then, you're a veteran. If you've been in the space before that, it's just like, sort of Jedi status in that sort of respect. And when you think as any other industry, if you looked at someone's CV and they said they've been doing a job since 2018, you would consider them to be very new in the role still. So I think that's very, very wise words with regards to sort of that patience. And people always say it, you can jump around looking for the next sort of Doge or Shiba Inu just as a quick shill and pump, but there are thousands of tokens that fall by the wayside. And I agree with what Ben's saying. And if you are interested or you haven't done it before, have a little look at sort of the market caps for the top 10 coins from 2013, 17. And like Ben said, there are so many that you won't have even necessarily heard of that maybe did, I think there were a few that did 1,000,000% back in those bull runs. So yeah,
absolutely.
Amazing. Well, look. I mean, if there's nothing else from your neck of the woods, and Jasper's got, I just would like to say thank you for coming on. It's always great to sort of hear about communities who have, have got a strong community and have stood the test of time. Because we believe that's obviously the core to that sort of survival is prior planning, and also having that sort of the trust in the community. So thank you for coming on and sharing those words as a veteran of the space, Ben.
No, thanks very much for having me, and for all of you guys listening. The fact that you're here and you're listening and you're trying to learn, that puts you streets ahead of the people that are just punching walls or whatever at the moment. So keep doing that. Keep preparing yourself for the next cycle, because it will come. And just make sure that you're positioned well, and knowledge is the key. So just make sure that you're very, very switched on, and learn how to get a very good BS filter. That's what I would say.
Couldn't agree more.
Words indeed. Yeah, well, thank you very much for coming on, guys. Great to hear about your project. And as you've touched upon, I think it's important in these sorts of times to look for the projects that are providing that utility and a building behind the scenes, not just focusing on shilling memes. So yeah, great to hear that you guys also have your heads down, and looking forward to speaking to you further.
Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
Thanks, everyone. Stay safe.
Thank you. See you.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Take care, guys.